Hello and welcome to Maggie's Fun Time. This is Magzie, and we are back here on Infinity Evolved Skyblock. I am doing. One of you guys wanted me to do a territorial, kind of a guide to nuclear reactors, and I'm going to give you guys the basics that of mine. I do not use nuclear reactors that much, but if I give you the basics, and then I'll post in the description down below the wikis. We also will be looking at the wiki in this one. I have got my computer set to monitor capture, so it will be showing everything that goes on my computer, which is another reason why we are in windowed mode here instead of full screen. Okay, so the first thing you need to know is you need to find uranium ore. Now, this is what it looks like. Now, in Skyblock, you'll be sieving it, and it'll come in the form of crushed. Where's crushed? Hold on. I'll see it. It'll come in the form of crushed. This is purified. It'll come in the form of crushed, and you'll get it from sieving, I think, sand. Hold on. Uses. Hold on. Uses. Crushed. That's crushed right there. And if we go to R here, ex nihilo, yeah, so sand. And you get a 4% chance of getting it. I get tons of it, so it's not a big deal. You'll find it. Once you get that, you will have to put it into an ore washer to get the purified, and also into the thermonic centrifuge to get the pure uranium, which looks like this. Hold on, let me find it. Uranium. I believe it's this one. Yep. It looks like this. And you also get little tiny piles of uranium here. So right here. That's what you do. You put purified in here. You get 2 and 5. And then what you want to do is make it into... You have to excuse that I got a car next door. This one. Enriched uranium nuclear fuel, which will be just like this, and then you put that into a canning machine or a solid fluid canning machine with some empty fuel rods, and that will give you the uranium fuel rod right here. Okay, now there are bigger forms of this, so I'm going to show you this. To get this form right here, it's just an iron plate with 2 of them in there, and also for the quad fuel one, it is 3 iron plates and then 2 copper plates with them in the 4 corners. Alright, now once you run your reactor for a while, you will be able to get MOX fuel. Alright, let's see if I can find MOX. This is MOX nuclear fuel. As you can see, instead of the tiny piles in the middle, you put plutonium in here. Alright, you will need to run a regular nuclear reactor on regular fuel for a little while to get the plutonium up. This is the IC2 experimental, if I'm not mistaken, in this pack. So when you go onto the wiki, you'll be looking for the experimental part of the wiki, since it's a wiki for all the IC2 classic, experimental, and then the beta version that they have out now. I think it's version 2.x or something like that. But make sure you're reading for the experimental, and it'll tell you on there. I'll show you. It'll tell you on there that certain information that they're getting ready to tell you is only for certain versions. All right. So once you get this, you can make these fuel rods. So if we hit R here, it's again in the canning machine. You can do that, and then once you get those, you can make those the same as before. Okay. Next thing you need is a nuclear reactor. To make a nuclear reactor, you need 3 reactor chambers. Now the recipes are going to be slightly different depending on the pack you're in. I am doing this as if you are playing the Skyblock. So if you're playing Infinity Evolve Skyblock, but your recipe might be different depending on what pack you're playing in. So for the Skyblock version, you need dense lead plates. You need a generator. You need 3 reactor casings and an advanced circuit. Your advanced circuit will be different if you're playing on another pack. In Skyblock, you need redstone chipsets, basic capacitors, and intricate circuit boards, along with a regular electric circuit. To make the reactor chambers, you just need a basic machine casing surrounded by lead plates. The basic machine frame being this right here with the iron chipset. And you need at least 1 fuel rod, alright? And you'll want at least 1 heat exchanger right here. Heat vent. Is it a vent? Heat vent. Let's grab one of you. There we go. So you can just place. You also need a lever. The reactors require a redstone signal in order to actually do something. So you'll want a lever of some kind. Lever. I entered. Lever. So I don't want it on that yet. Hold on. So this is your basic reactor. Well, we'll put it on here. And until you turn this on, it will not be on. So a regular reactor only has 3 by 6. All right, which means you can put you can actually put up to 18 in here, but you don't want to do that. It's not gonna be fun times for you. Now, how you do a nuclear reactor is all about heat management, all right? And there are different stages of the reactor. So I'm going to go over the different stages of the reactor. So we're going to go to the actual wiki right now. I don't need you up here. Get off here. No, that's right. That's right. Okay, I'm going to take this guy off here because I don't need him up. So let me scroll down. These are your different mark levels for your classified reactor. Alright. Now, you will ignore the breeder part down here. This is for classic, not for current experimental. Alright. There are different. There's up to 5 marks. And then the Mark 1. Mark 1 reactors generate no excess heat. Each reactor ticks and thus are safe to use continuously for as long as you supply uranium. Mark 1 is that doesn't make no sense. Mark 1 tends to have low efficiency, but that's the price of completely safe reactor. Mark 1 has 2 subclasses. There's a Mark 1-1 for designs that do not rely on any cooling in any way, and the Mark 1-0 or O for those that do. Okay? So those are the ones we're going to go over in this tutorial. The rest of these you can get into. I just want you to know about them because they will use these as references when you were looking up your reactor designs. For right now, you want this one if you're just now getting into it, And you can worry about these later once you get used to the actual reactor and how it works. The Mark II and down requires a cooldown period to prevent the hull from reaching 85% maximum heat or melting down the components. Alright, and different stages of these further down ones make it a little bit worse. So the Mark II here is designed to produce a small amount of excess heat and will need to be given a cool down period eventually to prevent the hull from reaching 85% heat or melting components. A Mark II must complete at least one full cycle before entering heat problems. The subclass for Mark II denote how many cycles or the design can run before reaching critical heat level. For example, a Mark II-3 will need a cooldown period after it runs 3 cycles in a row. The Mark IIs can run 16 times or more to get a special subclass E, Mark II-E, for almost being a Mark I. Alright? So basically you put enough in there to where it actually heats up your reactor, and eventually once it heats up to a certain point, you'll want, without melting your components, destroying any of your components, you'll want to let it cool down on it before you actually turn it back on to run more. And the number of cycles that it can run before that cooldown period happens makes it a Mark II in the different subcategory or whatever. Now, the Mark III reactors tend to have an emphasis on efficiency over at the cost of safety. Mark IIIs are unable to complete a full cycle without going into meltdown and thus need to be shut down mid-cycle in order to deal with a high amount of excess heat. This can be done manually or using redstone. Mark IIIs have an additional condition that they must run at least 10% of the cycle, so at least almost 17 minutes before reaching critical heat or losing any of their components. And it goes on from there. I'm not going to read all this, guys. You can go in and read all this stuff. I will want to note here that as a change in experimental, your reactors do not reduce heat on their own. You are required to use a component. We'll get into those here in a minute. So let's go back into here. So each one of these will produce its own amount of heat. So if I come in here and I put down one of this guy and I turn it on for a second, it produces 5 EU per tick. Alright? And it'll slowly heat up this temperature. I don't want to do that, so we're going to cut it off now. So, and then, as you can see, the durability went down by 5. Alright? So each one of these will produce 5 by themselves. Now, what you can do is you can actually put these side by side. Okay? When you put these side by side, they emit neutronium ions towards each other, and they cause each other to produce more energy, but they heat up faster. So if I turn this on right now, we go in here, you see it's 20 instead of 10, right? But you see the core is going up a lot faster here. So we're gonna let, and this the core temperature will stay up here, all right? It's not going to go back down unless we put something in here that makes it go down, all right? And the same goes for the 4. So right here, so it does 60, but see how fast the temperature's going up? So that's how that works. So the more of these you put in here, the more energy it will produce. Now, you can use these guys. Putting these guys in here is the same as before. So you still get 20, only using 1 slot instead of 2. And the same goes for one of these guys. See? 60. So the difference here is using this one takes up less space, so you have more room to put in more components. Also, you can put more fuel rods into the actual reactor. Alright? So that's how that works. and it kind of multiplies in on itself. The actual the actual formula is on the wiki page, so you can go on there and look at the formula to figure out how much power you're going to get outputted from these. I'm not going to give you that figure in my mind. I'm going to go ahead and delete these guys right here. Okay. Now, as you can see, this is 11 heat. I'm going to get into that in a minute, how to get rid of that. But I wanted to test the mock fuel here, because I haven't... Oh, shoot, I deleted that. Oops. Oopsie. Let me grab some mocks. Stop that. Stop that. As you can see, the mock fuel gives you 7 instead of 5. I can just take that out there like that. Put that back in? Okay. So we just delete you. And I will show you one of each of these guys in here also. We have here 30 and 95, 100, 102. It keeps going up. That one. So, the MOX fuel is a little bit better to use. So, but you have to run your reactor for a while, and you have to break down your depleted uranium cells to get the MOX fuel in there. So, let's take this off, and we're going to break this. We're going to get rid of them right there. You can make a bigger reactor. The first thing you want to do is you want to move your reactor up one space. So we want to put reactor here. And now, electric jetpack. Let's put you like this. Shift. No. Not you. Reactors. Stop that. And we should be able to do this. And you just put one reactor core on each side. You don't have to put one on each side, but it's more efficient. Well, not more efficient, but it unlocks all of them. So if I took this guy off here, as you can see, this row. So each one that you put on here unlocks one of the other 6 lines here. Go ahead and put you back on here. We'll go ahead and delete you and you. So this gives you the biggest reactor you can get. You can pump out energy on any one of these sides. It doesn't matter. And it gives you a little bit more space, which means your reactor can produce that much more energy. Alright. Now, your basic reactor will be this. So your uranium fuel rod and your heat vent. And if we take our lever and put it on the side here and turn it on, so you see that's running, and you're getting 5 EU per tick. Alright. Now, this heat exchanger can only exchange heat, can only vent heat up to a certain amount. So if we put a bigger one in here and we turn this on, eventually the core temperature here is going to start going up. So let's take you out and we'll try one of these bad boys. Anyway, see how much that's... See this right here? Hold on. See how that's just burning through that? Now, the heat vent will slowly repair itself over time. because the job is to vent heat. But if it ever gets to 0% heat or durability there, it will be destroyed. All right, so you be careful of that. All right. Also, sometimes this will get destroyed. As you can see, when I take that out right there, it only gets heat back up when it's inside here. Let's go back to industrial. Hit you. And what we want is a reactor heat exchanger. No, that's changed. The heat exchanger exchanges heat between different components. Reactor heat vent. So this is the reactor heat vent. What we're going to do is we're going to stick this guy in here, and we're going to turn him on for a few seconds. And we're doing, the objective is to get the core temperature here up a little bit. There we go. Take him out. And then if we put the reactor vent in here, it's going to help that cool down. And how we do that is we put this in here, and I believe if we put a heat exchanger in here in between these, this will help that get rid of its heat. I believe is how it's supposed to work. See how the durability is going down? Am I doing that right? Yeah, see how the heat's going down now? And so what it's doing is it's taking the heat from this one and distributing into this one, and this one's dissipating the heat. So now, as you can see from this, it cannot be used in a fluid reactor. There are fluid reactors where you can actually put in the coolant into the reactor and pump it back out. Alright. Look at that. See how it's going up and back down, up and back down, up and back down? And that's because this one is actually helping this one reduce the core temperature of your reactor. Alright. So you have to put these in conjunction with your heat vents in order to cool your reactor down. And these guys will split the heat between the different components. There. So now, fluid reactors, I've never used a fluid reactor. I don't know much about fluid reactors. I know that you need to pump coolant in, and then you need to pump hot coolant out, and you use that the liquid let me look up heat exchangers. Hold on. Yeah, this one right here. See, it says IC2 hot coolant. What you do is you pump coolant into the reactor, and it'll cool it down, and then the hot coolant comes out, pumped out the other side, and you pump that through one of these, and you can also use that to produce a little bit of extra energy if need be. But that will cool the coolant down, and then you can pump it back in to heat it back up, and it's like an infinite cycle there. So that's something you can do. We are going to go back online here, and we're going to look at your different stuff. So you have vents. These devices get rid of heat, releasing it into the outer air where it does no harm. They come in a variety of 5 circumstances. You got the basic heat vent, and all your stats are right here. It does have a maximum capacity here. All the maximum capacity is the same. It dissipates 6 heat from itself every second. All right. The reactor heat vent dissipates heat and also pulls heat from the reactor. So it dissipates 5 heat and it pulls 5 heat from the reactor to itself. Alright. The advanced heat vent, and you look at these recipes up in the NEI. The advanced heat dissipates 12 heat. So you want to know how much heat you're producing, so you know which heat vent to use. So if we actually wanted to go up to, say, the quad cores, we'd probably want to increase our heat vent to a bigger one. So we want to make sure that we're venting more heat than we're actually taking in. All right. So I'll go down. We'll look at, see if we can figure out how much heat is actually produced by something. The overclocked heat vent will dissipate 20 heat, and it also absorbs 36 heat from the reactor. So it'll do it much faster. This is probably the best one. And I don't know what the component heat vent is. Component heat vent dissipates 4 heat from each surrounding component. Okay, so the component heat vent takes the heat from the components into itself and dissipates that. Hold on, I got somebody outside. Give me a second. What are you? I'm sorry, guys. My dog just jumped off the porch and ran around to the front door, wanted me to let him in the front door. So the component heat vent takes it away from other components and then puts it into itself. I guess is what I'm trying to say. And then we have the heat exchangers. Another tool in your heat control toolbox is heat exchangers, which will not dissipate heat, but instead move it around, hopefully to where it can be dissipated more easily. Heat exchangers work intellectually, seeking to make every component they interact with be equal from disintegration. For example, if a basic heat exchanger, which is destroyed at 2,500 heat, was transferring heat from itself to the reactor, which usually is destroyed at 10,000 heat, and there was 1,250 heat in between the two of them, would try to give the reactor 1,000 heat, 10% the reactor's capacity, in itself 250. So the heat exchanger right here transfers 12 to adjacent and then transfers 4 to the core, and has a maximum capacity of 250. The advanced does 24 and 8. The reactor heat exchanger does 0 and transfers all of its heat to the core. And then the component heat exchanger transfers to adjacent and doesn't transfer any to the core. So that would be the one if you wanted to just exchange it between two different components and not give any to the core. You'd want it to actually do the component heat exchanger there. You can also use coolant cells. All right, coolant cells will dissipate a set amount of heat depending on the coolant cells, and these RSH and LZH capacitors are reusable, so you can take them out and you can refill them and put them back in. Okay, each redstone dust fills the RSH condenser of 10,000, so it sees 20,000, so you need 2. And the LZH condenser recharges with lapis, and which restores 40 in its capacity of 100. So there we go. There's also efficiency you need to work out. Um, important tool to help you make more efficient. Dual cells is a single component which functions like a pair of uranium next to each other. Alone it generates 20 EU and 24 heat and sends 2 neutron pulses to each adjacent component. Its efficiency is calculated as how many times each cell produces 5 EU per tick. So the dual produces 24. What about the quad? The quad produces 96. Ooh, so up here, if we looked at this, the heat vent, you would need a combination of the heat vent and the heat exchanger here to like something else in order to keep it from actually not going to the reactor. Anyway, that's the basics here. There's also another component that you can get into, which is plating right here. Reactor plating actually increases the amount of maximum temperature and decreases the explosion range. All right, and there's 3 different kinds. Each of them do something different. The heat capacity reactor plating gives you the most maximum temperature bonus, and I believe that's per plating. Alright, so you can add those to your reactor and it'll give you more plating. If you're going to run one of those reactors where it's going to be running for so many cycles and then it's going to have to cool down, you'll probably want to put some reactor plating in there to increase your maximum temperature if you're running into the problem where it's not staying for a full cycle. Like if you wanted to do a Mark II reactor, but it's not staying for a full cycle before it has to be cooled down, you can actually increase the reactor's maximum temperature so that it'll give you a little bit extra. Also, putting plating around in places, it will also decrease the explosion range. So you might want to do that if you're doing one of the, if you're not going to do a Mark I, you'll probably want to put some of the reactor plating in there just in case. All right, just in case. That about covers all the basics. If there's anything else in the reactor that you want me to go over, I will post this link here. Industrial Aircraft 2 has its own wiki, guys. So if you don't want to click on the link that I provide to you, which is the one straight to this page, and just hit Industrial Aircraft 2 into your search engine and it'll pop up, the wiki will pop up on the main page. Make sure that it does say wiki.industrial-craft.net. Alright, and it'll bring you to this right here. I will post the main page, I also will post the nuclear reactor and also the territorial page here. Okay. One other thing you need to worry about when dealing with reactors, they produce a lot of power if built right. So your wiring will need to be up to par, especially in packs where they have the explosion turned on. So you pump too much power through a machine and it will explode and your machine will go bye-bye. So make sure you're using the right wires. I will post a link to the cables for IC2 also down in the description down below. So if this was helpful to you and I probably butchered this up pretty good, I will also post a link down there for another YouTuber that I use a lot for territorials, and you can watch him and see if he can describe it a little bit better than I did. If you like this episode, make sure you smack that like button. If you subscribe to my channel, I'll send you notifications when I have new videos out, and you come check them out and see if you like them. If you do like this episode and you want to share it with your friends, tell them what you like. There's a share tab down below. Click on the share tab, copy the link, post it on your Facebook, Twitter, wherever you do social media. I don't mess around with nuclear reactors that much because one, they're a little bit dangerous, and that makes them fun for some people. But you can get the same amount of power by going another route. So I usually don't deal with them. I'm only dealing with them in this pack because it's the only way to get iridium. There's no other way to get iridium in the pack. So you have to go through the reactors. Plus some of the other actual mods require you to get through to do the reactor. So I'm going with just the Mark 1. And if I do step up to the dual quad, I will probably... I don't think I will. I think I'll just stick with the regular, just one fuel rod in each one, because I don't need that much. I can pump power into the I can convert power over and pump it into the UU matter machine using better method. Mainly once we get up to these bad boys right here. These guys are much, much safer, and I can turn this on right here. And this is 1,000. And I can pump all this into the UU matter, and you can stack these up, get them higher and higher and higher. The only problem is you will need to run this one a lot to get up to that. Once you get enough to actually get a reactor going, you can build one just for your UU matter and just keep building it up and up and up and up and up, and then make more and more of the plutonium by cloning it or replicating it, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, guys, that'll do it for now. I'll see you guys on the next episode.